All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And Slacky, give me 1 second. Pardon me. Right. So yeah, as you can see in the headline, Ye changes his mind about the small hats. Okay, and that's why I titled the video Ye loves small hats now. And I'm gonna read a little bit of it. It's a pretty brief article. Just gonna go into pretty much the things that we've been saying, and then these different events that come out periodically, they make it into the headlines, and it has an effect, right? But you also have to keep in mind that living in this society, all right, with the you take for example Ye, you take for example Kyrie, these individuals, they're not at liberty to necessarily um get away with certain things, right? Something that, for example, we could do. We could go out and say, speak the truth all day long to our heart's content, but they're not at liberty to do so because of these positions that they've been put in. So they can try and try and try, but no matter how hard they try, unless it's the will of Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai, they're only going to get so far. Now, we also mentioned something called controlled opposition. Okay, let's look that up. Controlled uh, position. All right, let's see what they have here. So we have the Urban Dictionary. So it says controlled opposition. A controlled opposition is a protest movement that is actually being led by government agents. Nearly all governments in history have employed this technique to trick and subdue their adversaries. Notably, Vladimir Lenin, who said the best way to control the opposite is to lead it ourselves. So, what does it say? Count Mirabeau was part of the controlled opposition because although everyone thought he was supporting the revolution, in reality, he supported the monarchy and was a personal friend of the king. He was a government agent. So, when we say controlled opposition, it's not a term that we just made up and we're just like running with it. But as you can see, nearly all governments in history have employed this technique. Okay, and it is why do you think nearly all governments in history did it? Because it is effective, in which you are able to gain more control over the people when you infiltrate or run the other side. So you control both sides basically. You have the right side, the left side, and you're controlling it all. So you actually have agents that are set up to purposely come and to the public, right? Um it looks as though these agents are completely against everything that the order or the government or the authority is saying. In actuality, they're being controlled by them, right? So like when you're a kid and you watch wrestling, you watch WWE, and you'll see like rivalries between this guy and this guy, and then there's the promos. They show like the little backstage events that happen, the altercations, and then they show them in the ring, and they go back and forth, so on and so forth. But you come to find out that when the show is over, they go behind the scenes. They all good. They're all cool again. They're not actually mortal enemies in real life. Okay, but they all work for the same organization, And to the fans, it looks as though, oh, this guy's against this guy, until you grow up to the point where you find out the truth behind it all, right? But whenever, so with this in mind, right? Let me bring out this precept real quick and then tie in the point. So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So what's one of the examples of Satan's devices? Controlled opposition. So whenever we see these kinds of situations, because in essence, what Kyrie and Kanye did was like a protest movement, and they were like all of a sudden they just started with this one tweet or this that, and then it just blew up into this big thing, and it was getting a certain amount of attention. But that's because those that control the media and all of that wanted it to get a certain amount of attention. All right, it was all for a certain purpose, because why didn't it go anywhere? It came out for a bit, and then all of a sudden now it's like it never happened. Okay, so that's what they do. So whenever you see these kinds of situations come up, it's easy to think that, oh yeah, this is this. Now, of course, it's still going to have an effect that's going to be beneficial for us, right? The whole Kyrie and the Kanye situation, whether they were actually sincere about it or not, whether they were set up, whether they were controlled opposition or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that through their actions and through that stunt or that event, this word got spread out even more. So more people heard about it, because information travels mainly through controversy, right? Things that are controversial bring more awareness to whatever it is, right? That's why a lot of news articles and news things, they're all controversy. There was an explosion over here, there was a coup in this country, there was a war over here. It's all controversy that gets people, oh, whoa, what's that? It hooks them, and then they go and they look further, and then they find out more information. So yeah, regardless of whether they were controlled opposition or not, it was still favorable to us, because Yahweh Shai was preached. The gospel was still pushed out even more. More people heard about it, and more people got marked, and more potential elect, got their attention drawn to it. The Lord used it to draw them. Okay. Nevertheless, let's read this real quick, right? So it says, Kanye West changes his mind about small hats. Small hats, you know what that means. Okay. And if you don't, you can deduce it from the way I substituted it in there, right? So I'm deliberately not saying certain terms. So it says the rapper's decision comes after watching Jonah Hill's performance in 21 Jump Street. Now, I personally have never seen the movie 21 Jump Street, but I'm sure people have opinions about it. Nevertheless, Jonah Hill, I have seen him before, and I have seen a couple of movies with him in it. Okay, this individual, for those that can't put the name to the face, that's him. I know he's been in a few movies, but nevertheless, when you look him up, yeah, they say that he is a small hat, right? That his parents wear small hats and so on and so forth. And one thing, I have a few precepts in here that'll go into that, right? One thing about it as well is that not everybody that today may identify as a small hat is an actual small hat. You have Israelites that are mingled amongst them. Okay. Now that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it, because you're going to see why he had this sudden change of heart, at least as he says. Another aspect is, you may watch an actor, right? You may have an actor doing this, that, and the third, but remember that acting is acting. Now, there are some people that are just very good actors, like they just have it in them naturally. And a lot of those are really Israelites. But you also have some heathens in there that know how to play their role very well, right? They can be very good actors, but it doesn't make them Israelites. Okay. So let's read this a bit. It says, U.S. rap artist Kanye West has watched the comedy 21 Jump Street, starring actor Jonah Hill, and it has changed his outlook on the small hats. Now, like I said, I haven't watched enough of this guy, of Jonah Hill's movies or content, to formulate my opinion of whether I think he's an Israelite or not. But I'm sure, most or some individuals will lean towards him being an Israelite, so I don't really have a stance on that until maybe I get more. I watch more of him, but that's neither here nor there. So it says here, starring Jonah Hill, and it has changed his outlook on the small hats. He wrote on IG on Saturday. So that's what he wrote. The musician has been at the center of multiple anti-small hat scandals. Watching Jonah Hill in 21 Jump Street made me like the small hats again, West said. You hear that? It says no one should take anger against one or two individuals and transform that into hatred towards millions of innocent people. Now, the thing about it is, you can have say let's go with Jonah Hill being an Israelite, right? Let's say he is an Israelite, and you watch the movie that he was in. His acting was on point. I mean, you just liked it so much. But now you're giving credit to the nation of small hats because of, so you're in essence, you're kind of doing something similar to what you said in here, right? But in the reverse, I guess, emotion or whatnot, right? Because you're saying no one should take anger against one or two individuals and transform that into hatred towards millions of innocent people. But then you're taking favor for one individual, and then you're transforming that into favor or love towards millions of people, right? So the point I'm making here is that Jonah Hill, let's say Jonah Hill is an Israelite and his acting is impeccable. And because of that, you're like, damn, I just got won over by such and such, right? That does not give a pass or a favor to the nation of small hats, because outwardly he may not know he's an Israelite. He may not know his line actually goes back to an Israelite. All he knows is this is his parents, this is where he was born, this is what the world knows him as, right? So he may, to the world, oh, he's a small hat. Okay, but in actuality, maybe he's an Israelite. Does that mean that small hats are all of a sudden good just because you have Israelites that are sprinkled and scattered among them? Absolutely not. But does that mean that everybody that identifies or says they're a small hat is evil? Absolutely not, because you have Israelites that don't know they're Israelites that live amongst the small hats, and you can't tell by looking at them. Okay, you can't necessarily tell by just looking at them, and that's why we try the different spirits. Okay, so it says, and hey, yesterday at the camp there was a small hat that came up. Well, he said he was one, and he was, he said it was a Shabbat, and we had a little dialogue with him, but you never know who you're talking to. So we don't just initially, the second you find out the person says, "Oh, I'm from Israel or whatever." Oh, hey, you one of them vagabonds. The Most High gonna destroy your ass. You go back to Esau. You don't. But what if he goes back to Israel? Because all he said was, I'm from this land. But if you truly understand the scriptures, you know that, well, you had Israelites scattered within these lands. So before I even find any more information about this guy, doesn't make sense for me to instantly just rip the dude's head off. Maybe have a dialogue. Maybe you may say, wow, hey, you might be an Israelite, or maybe you are an Edomite. But even if you are an Edomite, cool. It doesn't mean that I have to get all fired up and curse you out. Why do I have to do that just because you're an Edomite that came up? If you want to have dialogue, we can have dialogue. We can go into the scriptures, and really there's more damage done to them when you go into the scriptures and you let the word or the sword of the Lord, Hebrews 4:12, do the actual work. That is where the most damage actually comes from, because you just yelling at the top of your lungs and cursing somebody out and over talking them, that just looks like chaos. It's not really edifying. But if you go into the scriptures and you show them and you bring the word out, that's edification. They're cut because they can't they believe in the Torah. You go into the Torah and then you prove to them such and such. Now they're stuck. And plus, those that are watching can now learn something. Oh wow, I didn't even know. Even I didn't know that. Wow, let me go in here. And you never know. Maybe he is an Edomite and he hears this and he gets stuck. You know what happens when he gets stuck? That's a seed that's planted. Now, it doesn't mean that it's a seed that's going to gain him salvation, but it's still a seed. And all it takes is a seed. So you never know if the next week he goes to his synagogue and then he asks his rabbi, "Hey, I was thinking about something. I came across a question that I didn't quite have an answer for. I was hoping maybe you could answer it for me." And then he might um, regurgitate what you said to him. And maybe there may be others around. Some of them might be Israelites. Maybe some might hear it and they might start thinking, that's actually a good question. Wow. The rabbi might not be able to answer it. Maybe he might run circles around it, but that's enough. That's enough to take the seed from whatever street or corner or park that you were on. And now you have transported this information, this seed, all the way into somebody's synagogue. And now it's spreading because the second it enters somebody's mind, it's just going to go. You never know who's going to have what conversation and what's going to come out. So all we got to do is just speak the word. Okay? Speak the word. Whether they're a heathen, whether they're an Israelite, we're a prophet unto the nations. Our job is to prophesy. Sometimes the Lord uses heathens as vessels, as carrier vessels. And they literally just walk by you. They hear what you say. Maybe you have a little dialogue, and then they keep on going, only to introduce that information to somebody else who it will be more profitable to them. And then they might go and look it up. See, the Lord deals on such a interconnected, intricate level that we can't even possibly imagine. We can only think so far. We can only connect so many dots, but when it comes to the Lord, man, I mean, boy. So it says, let's keep on reading. So it says he elaborated, possibly referring to himself in the post that he has garnered 1.4 million likes. West concluded the post by thanking Hill and saying he loves him. The rapper, who legally changed his name to Ye, is a multi-Grammy award-winning artist and producer. In October 2022, Ye posted to Twitter that he was about to go DEFCON 3 on small hats, a reference to the U.S. Defense Readiness Alert System. All of a sudden, now why did he do that? Now, if you had the mindset that you wanted to go DEFCON 3 on him, then you go and watch a movie and all of a sudden you love him again. So it says here that the Most High doesn't love him, because it says it, that the Lord said he hated Esau, which that means not just the small hats, but the nation of Edom. But specifically for the small hats, the Lord said he will have war with them from generation onto generation. So it says that the tweet, and it goes to show you that this sentiment that he had wasn't from a rooted standpoint. When we say the things we say according to the scriptures, we don't just say it because one day we ran across some Amalekite and he pissed us off, so now we just come out and say all these things. No, we understand the nature of them. We understand what the scriptures say. We understand what the Most High has instructed us. All of these things about them, and through that understanding, we see, or we can properly formulate that conclusion or that opinion or that feeling, which is that, okay, well, this is why the scriptures say that you're gonna go into captivity, or that you are the wicked that the scriptures speak of. Like, we don't just say that because somebody said it, because we ran into one Amalekite that pissed us off, but we research and we look into your nature, your history, your track record, what the scriptures say. We couple it all in, and then we come to that conclusion, and then we preach it. So we're not just gonna go and watch a movie and then switch our stance. Oh, because of that, now I love everybody again. No, because we don't just go around saying things on a whim. It says here the tweet was removed and West's account was suspended. In December, West was a guest on the controversial InfoWars podcast hosted by Alex Jones. Now, one interesting thing to point out is that on Twitter and these different social media websites, there is a whole large variety of discriminatory jokes, statements, threats, all of these things that are out there against different, what this world will call ethnicities, right? And yet, the end or the target of these stereotypes or jokes or threats or whatever lands on the small hats, it's a whole different, completely different reaction. Okay? It's not the same treatment whenever it's talking about something else. He could have said this about Ammonites or Moabites or some other people, and it would not have gotten this same kind of reaction. So that should tell you something, right? Um, where we at? So it says he was a guest on the controversial InfoWars podcast hosted by Alex Jones. During the show, the rapper stated that he sees good things about Hitler. West's Twitter account was reinstated by the platform's new CEO, Elon Musk, in November. However, the very next month, the artist found himself banned once again after he tweeted an image of a swastika inside of the Star of David. It says West's anti-small hat remarks have cost him partnerships with multiple brands like Vogue, but yeah, Baal, Balenciaga, and Gap, which that's crazy, right? You have Baal Peor, which is Lord of the Gap, and I believe the word Balenciaga breaks down to Baal is Lord or something of that sort, and then you have Gap. So it's interesting how you have Baal or Balenciaga and Gap. Just made me think of that. But interestingly enough, right? Like I said, when you are a celebrity, or yeah, let's go with that. You're a celebrity. You live a certain kind of lifestyle, right? Even though you're still really you're a higher level slave. You really lack more freedoms than the average individual. But if we look at like monetary wise, you're not free, but you have more money than the average individual, right? So in order to live in that big ass house or houses that you own, drive that car that you own, all of those things, those are not one-time payments. You when you get these things, you still have to maintain them. There's a lifestyle you live. People depend on you, and whenever they step out of line, all of these people that they are associated with, companies, all of those things that are giving them those sponsors and contracts and all of that, if they say, look, we cut your ass, that means you are losing funds. When you lose funds, you can't maintain that lifestyle. And then all of a sudden, your enthusiasm, all that motivation you had for your cause, for your protest, that all starts to deflate. Because what comes in? Adversity. Yeah, that's when the you know what, maybe I'll roll back a bit on this, because I can't keep living like this unless I'm determined to go all the way with it and just become a regular civilian, which is pretty much impossible for a lot of celebrities. So they can only go so far before those whips. Because once you get out of line, they immediately they take out the whip, and then they start the lashes. They start the lashes, and you may withstand the first 5, the first 10, but after the 11th going up, that shit starts to hurt, right? Now you're like, oh, them lashes are taking a toll. Now you want the 29th lash, and now you triple thinking. All right, hold on. This pain is getting to your mind a bit. So now you got to slow down. Eventually, you just, all right, you know what? Let me tap out. And in most cases than not, it's really just controlled anyway, like I brought out in the beginning. So it says here, then it goes into some other deals that he had that that decided to drop him. Some said we're gonna review your stuff, so on and so forth. But let's get down here. So it says the Anti-Defamation League released a report in February counting at least 30 anti-small hat incidents directly connected to West and his beliefs. The organization said those instances demonstrate the ongoing influence of Ye's conspiratorial bigot rants. The movie that apparently caused the 180-degree turn in the artist's views, 21 Jump Street, is a 2012 buddy cop action comedy. It was a commercial and critical success, praised for its humor. Small hat American comedian Jonah Hill played the character of Morton Schmidt in the film. He has not yet commented on his performance having such a profound effect on West. So, in essence, if you follow the whole story, they make it look as though he was a bad kid. He did something bad. They whipped his ass. Everybody try to correct him, because that's what they do, right? You need to be corrected. He needs to be re-educated and understand the negative impacts of his actions. And then when he finally says, hey, I'm going to stop this, and you know what? I can see it now. Then they say, wow, well done. See, like he's doing good. Whatever caused them to do this, let's let's do good things to that. Well, who's going to re-educate the top slave owners, the descendants of them, who are still profiting today? Who's going to re-educate them? What about all the wickedness that Esau is doing, even up until this very day? Not only to the people here in America, but also the people that are in other countries. Who's going to re-educate them? But that's not an issue. That's not something we talk about. Okay. So I had here Deuteronomy 28 and 64. Addressing the point that I made earlier, right? About you are going to have Israelites that are scattered amongst the scripture said, let's read it. Deuteronomy 28 and 64. And the Lord Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people. Okay. The key word is all people, from the one end of the earth, even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Because when you're there, you're going to be raised up. You're going to think that you are, of that land. Just like going back to the time of the New Testament, that's why you had a lot of Israelites that didn't know they were Israelites, which needed to be taught. They needed to be brought back to the fold. Okay, but in today's day and age, as it says, all people. Now there are 17 nations excluding the nation of Israel, and those nations have inhabited pretty much the planet, all the different continents that people live in there. So if we're scattered among all of them, is not Edom one of the nations, and Amalek a tribe of Edom? So would you not have Israelites scattered even amongst the Edomites? Yes, you would. Okay, I pulled this up. I found this site going into the 18 nations, and if you scroll through, it'll show you all the 18 nations right there. Guess what? You have Israelites scattered amongst all of them. Okay, and that's why in the book of Revelation, the 7th chapter, the Apostle John saw that innumerable multitude from all nations, kindreds, and tongues. All right, because that's where they were scattered. And I mean, it's a pretty simple concept if you apply some spiritual wisdom, but it's pretty expensive to some as well. So that's pretty much it on the lesson. I just found it interesting. I was reading this article. I came across it. It's linked in the description box, so you can access it there. But just found it interesting that at one point, Ye was going so hard, right, for this. Oh yeah, they this, they that. You can't so boldly, and look, they're taking down this, they're taking down that, but I'm not gonna stop because I know that. And then, oh yeah, I went and watched the movie, and now they all cool again. I love them again. So yeah, it's just pretty interesting. But Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rechak Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.